everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And I just returned yesterday from the summer offensive, and a great time was had by all. You've probably seen videos on all the other channels, or some of the other channels, like Rank Carcass, General Hand Grenades, Sky Marshal, Fortress Jinx. I'm not sure who else was shooting. I'm not sure who else was shooting all of a sudden. So that could be everybody. If not, I apologize to anybody who may have been filming, but I think that was everybody I saw filming. And you may know that I got with my partner Mark Moose. We got second place overall. We won our tablehood, as the Axis, and on the other table we're the winners of the tournament, which was Global War 36 Enthusiast and Madman Dan, who's a repeat winner from last year. I was his partner last year, fortunate enough to be, we were the allies and we won. And this year we both won as the Axis, but of course on separate tables. I think they had 16 points, 15 or 16 points. We ended up with 14 on our table, so good enough for second place overall. Had a great time though. It was great to meet some new guys, make some new friends, and just a wonderful time all around. This is some of the stuff that I actually won this year. So this is last year's medal bar, or not medal bar, but prestige bar. This is this year's, and just stay up. Anyway, I didn't win any other medals this year or any other things, and that's fine. There was the couple of them went to Kaiser, who was commentator on the other table, on table Bismarck, and the best strategist went to Madman Dan. So the Bismarck table actually won all of the awards. The most strategic commander and was Madman Dan, and then the most honorable and most diplomatic went to Kaiser. So tablehood kind of got shut out of that, but I tell you what, we had a great time. And I learned a lot about the game. It was the first time I'd ever played Japan, and a couple of things went really well my way, and not the least of which was my partner was excellent, Moose, and he activated Italy in about 41, I think. It's hard to remember, but about 41 or so, maybe early 42, he activated Italy. And I thought, uh-oh, because now Italy can be attacked. And they did get attacked, and they got beat down pretty hard. But they attracted so much attention that I could run free in the Pacific, and the Americans were sending a lot to Europe. So I only ended up fighting about half the American economy. The KMT was down to $1, so I didn't have to worry about them. The CCP caused me a little bit of grief, thanks to Friendly Fire. He was the Comintern player. But the Comintern, the Soviet Union of the Comintern, spent most of their time on the Eastern Front having massive battles. Man, they were fun to watch. Massive battles between himself and the Germans. So, had a great time doing that. Now, we all walked away with well, just a great time, great memories and everything. But everybody also got some swag, some things to carry around. I also have my medal. I have a second place medal on a blue ribbon. I guess that's not sitting here. Must be in my bag. I thought I had taken everything out. I was able to pick up this. This is a nice dice tray, and this is the Global War 14 that's coming out from Historical Board Gaming. Still working on it, but it's very, very close. And I also picked up these little stands here that are for the game. Now, these are for the 1914 game that's coming out, and I'll be using them today on the old Axis and Allies 1914 game. So these are just build plates and army markers. So obviously you can take this out and put it on someplace, and that obviously denotes what is there. I really like these. You can see there's two different styles. There's the style that is more of an L shape, and then there's one where it's more in the center. Now, more stable to be sure, but with this one here, you can also then put a unit on there just to give it a little bit more feel to it. So I'm going to use both today, see which one I like better, and then probably move forward. And I don't think it's going to be too big a difference between the two of them. So here we are, we're set up. We'll be using my house rule that Italy doesn't come in on the first turn, and they get half their economy, and they have to roll a die. If they get a 1, then they come in on turn 2. And then they get their full economy once they're in. But if they don't get a 1, then on turn 2 they roll again, and they have to get a 2. And on turn 3 they have to get a 3 or less. So this goes on until they roll the number that they have to get in, and they get half their economy up until that point. So it is a bit of a different from the out of box. Because the CCP do tend to get crushed. In all the games I've played and in all the games I play with my friends, CCP just gets crushed. They just don't have the numbers, don't have the economy, and they're not in a good position either. So, I've also had other people on my channel here say, hey, wait a second, I've played this and see the Central Powers win all the time. The Allies can't win, so what's up with that? And that's the beauty of a lot of these games, is that no matter what your meta is, there's someone else there who has a different experience going on, and it's just fun to kind of swap stories and figure out maybe how we can help balance it out for each of us. So for me, the Italian thing helps balance it out a little bit. But the other thing is that Munich becomes a zone where the Germans can build. So I'm going to go with that today as well, that the Germans can build in Munich, and we will be playing with the Russian Revolution rule. Okay, and I say we, meaning the royal we. I'm just going to play a solo game. Alright, so here we are, ready to go. Oh, and the build limit is 5 units in India for the British. And so those are the 3 things. The build limit in India, the staggered Italian start. Now they might come in on round 2, but they're not in on round 1, so they can't be attacked, and the French can't go into their territory, their land. They can go into the sea, but not into the land. And these units here cannot move. The Italian units cannot move because they're not at war. All right, tell you how round 1 goes in just a moment. All right, round 1 is over, and big push by the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians towards Moscow. It's basically Moscow or bust, and early signs are very, very good for the Central Powers right now. But of course, lots of dice to roll, and the Austro-Hungarians' attack into Ukraine typically falters. But they did come in here, and they only lost, I think, 1 guy coming into Romania. Only lost 1 guy going into Serbia. The Germans were able to walk into Poland because the Russians had gotten out of there, decided to pull back and reform the lines. But right now, the Austro-Hungarian German troops outnumber the Russians about by 30%. So if they smash into these areas, in Ukraine they outnumber them over 2 to 1. So that's probably going to be the first assault. If that goes well for Austro-Hungary, Germans will smash into Belarus, and we might have the Russian Revolution very quickly in this game. Down here, of course, the British took Persia, lost a couple of units doing it, sent guys from 1 artillery and man. Oh, I forgot to chip out the man. From here to Arabia, and did their build of 5 here, 2 artillery, 2 men, and the aircraft. Africa was a little muddled, a little messy, and the Germans got the better of it. They were able to capture these 3, as they tend to do, and then they came up here, got Angola, so they were +4 in Africa, and then the British, who can sometimes do the ring around the rosy here, decided to attack. They got 1 hit, and the Germans got 2. So, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. 1 more British here. Of course, the British contingent in Egypt. Up here, these Germans have done all they can to get money, because here comes 4 angry Frenchmen. So likely going to be over shortly, but again, never know. It's basically 6 on 4, and defense wins in these sorts of things. So if the Germans hang tough, they might actually be able to survive. On the front here, all quiet on the Western Front. Not really quiet, but there's Belgium. And this is what's in Belgium. Alright, so we marched everybody in. It's a little blurry, there we go. Marched everybody in and took it, I think, for the loss of 1, if any, maybe not even any. And then brought everybody back. I didn't build in Munich because the strategy, I forgot to mention this, I usually like to mention my overall strategy, is to have Germany push everything they can towards Moscow and just do a fight a holding pattern here. And so they have good numbers there. So the French are going to be able to hang on to Lorraine and then push forward. But see how long that lasts. Up here, the Germans dispatched the Royal Navy for the loss of 3 submarines. 3 submarines. 1 to the mines and 2 to combat, but took out the rest. So I built a British cruiser and brought the one from Canada, thinking if Germany wants to come over and do this, that'll be a bit more. Plus we've got a cruiser and 2 French battleships here ready to reply. French built infantry and a fighter. America is just holding on to its cash because it's so much easier to do math on one round than making change throughout. I didn't do anything with Italy. They have $7. We did not spend it, but we are going to roll right now. So if they get a 1, they're in the war. Nope. Can't even hit the box. Okay, that's definitely not it. So next turn it'll be a 2. So whatever round they're in. All right. So we'll have the Italians. They can do non-combat type moves. They just can't do combat. So of course, knowing that the Germans are headed that way, we won't bother sending stuff into France. And we'll do that. And who knows, maybe we'll use an Italian card here. I can just chip those out. All right, so up we go. That should be there. And that would be there. And we can't even go into Albania. You're just not allowed to do anything with Italy outside of our own borders. All right, so now we're going to be moving on, turn 2. And, will the Russians be able to hold on? This is actually looking pretty grim here because the Austro-Hungarians only lost 1 unit in Romania. Usually they lose like 4 or 5. And so, a little easier. A little bit more pep in their second step. I'll let you know how it happens in just a moment. Oh, and I forgot to mention these, but this was the ring that I got for winning the summer offensive last year with Madman Dan. He got another one this year because he won again. But I've just got the 1. But you know what? Even if I never win again, I mean, it's such a cool thing to have. And it's last year's is the first place for 2021, and this year second place, 2022. So yeah, I found those just while I was taking my turn. So, all right, on to round 2, and oh, I forgot to place the Austro-Hungarian build. I put it there, and then I said to myself, that's not a good thing to do because you're going to forget them. And then lo and behold, there you go. All right, round 2 coming up. Fun, fun, fun. All right, round 2 is done, and it's looking pretty grim for the Soviets. Sorry, the Russians. They're not the Soviets yet. That's all the World War II games I've been playing. They are getting pushed back here. They did do an attack on the gigantic Austro-Hungarian stack and did quite well. They won the air battle, so all of their artillery here, this big stack of, I think it's 11 or 12 artillery, was shooting at 4s, and they got a lot of hits. But the rest of it, not horrible, and the Austro-Hungarians punched back pretty well. So the Russians are way down on units, and Moscow only has 8 infantry because that's all they could afford. So likely a Russian Revolution is going to be happening. There's really nothing that is stopping it. They're going to build, but when they retreat, that will, for the next round, unless they can somehow punch out, that'll probably cause the Russian Revolution on round 3. But we'll wait and see. There's a lot of dice to roll, of course, but it's not looking too splendid for them. Down here, we have our typical stalemate going on between the Turks and the British. And with the Turks sending up more units up into the Russian Empire, now they can focus everything at home and coming across. So if they don't have to worry about the Russians, the Turks can typically handle things down here. So we'll have to, again, wait and see what the British can do. The British do surround them, but the Ottomans can field a good number of troops. They're making 19, 21, 22 bucks, I guess, 19 bucks, and had saved some, but there's a good chance they can head up here and get some more. Down in Africa, the French have landed betwixt and between the German expeditionary forces here, and a little battle went on last round, but this round nobody had the stones to attack, and so nothing happened here. But now the British have 2 units there, and the French have 2 units, and French have 2 more units. So now it's a 6-3, and there you go. So the Germans are, well, still there, but not sure for how much longer. The Italians, of course, failed on their roll to get in. They rolled a 6. So I did actually spend some money. I had 14 to spend. I spent 12 to build a fighter and a couple of boys, and have bulked up here. But with the Austro-Hungarians sending pretty much everything this way, and the Germans sending vast majority this way, as I said before, the Russians are under many guns. The French, however, have had a pretty easy time of it because there aren't many Germans over here. But they put their whole build in Munich this time because it really does look like the Russian Revolution is going to happen. So now the Germans can start building stuff one place closer to Paris. The German Navy got wiped out by the French. French have 2 damaged battleships here, which of course will repair this round. And so the British were able to build a couple of transports and will continue to build transports and start sending things over to help out their French allies. The Americans just saved their money. So America now has $60 and will be able to enter the war on turn 4. So on turn 3, we'll do our big $60 buy and then get ready for the march into the Atlantic. Beyond all that, though, I think the Entente would really like the Italians to roll better and get into this war, because that would put Trieste under some pressure. As it is, there's none. All right, so that is the end of round 2. Round 3 coming up. It's looking really good for the CP right now, but we've seen that before. All right, before we get into this video, I am going to show you these big the Tsar tanks I got from HBG, and they're just gorgeous tanks, and completely ridiculous on a battlefield, of course, but neat idea. Basically a great big bicycle, and then they got the little cabin up top where they got all the guns and blast away. Obviously did not work well. But anyway, I painted them up hoping to use them this game, but they don't come in until turn 4. This is turn 3. Russian Revolution can only happen starting turn 4, but this is where we are right now on turn 3. So I'm going to show you a couple of battles. I'm going to show you the battle for Moscow, and I'm also going to show you this battle here. Now this looks like it's, I don't know, there's a lot more German stuff than there is French. This is the battle for Lorraine. We brought in the entire Belgian army as well as from Alsace. So if this goes poorly for the Germans, they're very, very wide open here, which may encourage the British to even maybe attempt some landings in Kiel and hopefully not get hit by the mines. So we're gonna show you this real time. So there's no aircraft in this battle because the Germans sent theirs east and the French have their aircraft in Picardy. So we're going to start with the Germans. So the Germans have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. They have 19 at 2. All right, so we're going to show you that. So we're going to go 5, 10, 15, 19. So 19 at 2. Here we go. Oh, that's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe should have had one more there. So that's 5 hits. Boy, those are tough to pick up when you're... So we'll put 5 there. 5 hits. We had 19 at 2, and now we have 9. I think we have So it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have 26 at 3. So that was 26 at 3. So we'll 5, 10, 15, 20, and 26. So these are at 3. This is the infantry and artillery. All right, here we go. Looking for 3s. That doesn't really look that good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just 7 hits. So that's 12 total. So 12 total hits. I'll put that there. On les Français, who definitely have more than 12 units. Not a ton more, though. They're up around 20. So the French have 15, 16, 17, 18, and then 4 more. So 22. We just had 26 here. We took one out. I'll just count them up again. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, and 2. So we're looking for 3s or less for the defending French. Here we go. Well, that doesn't look very good either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That one's cocked. 10. Okay, well, 10 hits, so that's less than what the Germans got, but the Germans brought a whole bunch more. So we'll just get rid of those guys there, and we'll get rid of 12 French. And then I will put this all back on. I'll set up the battle for Moscow on the board, and we'll go with that. All right, here's the battle set up. We have to do the air first. And so what we're going to do, we got 2 German fighters and 1 Russian fighter. So we've got the 2 German fighters is red, the Russian fighter is green. You need a 1 or a 2 to get a hit. Okay, so that's not good news for the Russians at all. That was their one hope, I think, to hopefully survive this. So after you do that, then the planes get to do a strafing run. A 1 or a 2 is a hit. Okay, no more there. But that pushes all this artillery up to a 4. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're going to move. Oh wait, that's the Russians. Sorry, I don't know what I was doing there. We'll put them there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that'll give 6 Germans the ability to punch. So this isn't going to be a monstrous victory here by the Germans, even if they do win. But it is meant to whittle them down, because we do have another stack of Germans that can come next round, and a small stack of Austro-Hungarians, and even the Ottomans might get in on it. Okay. So we'll start with the Germans. We have 5 at 2, and I like to do these with the color-coded ones if I have the ability to do that. So we have 5 black dice for 2, 6 green dice for 3, and then we have 6 red dice for 4s. All right. So 2, 3s, 4s. Okay, so the black is 1 hit. The green dice, is 4 more. And the red dice, all but 2 hits, so another 4. So that is 9 hits total on the Ruskies. 9 hits total. So we'll put that right there. 9 hits. So the Russians have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. So they've got 14 at 3, and then they've got all these guys. So we actually just, they're all at 3. So 19, 20, and then 21, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they got 25 units at 3, but they are losing 9, so they'll be down to 16. So 25 at 3, we'll just use black dice for that. 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So 25 dice at 3. Wish us luck. Here we go. The Russians really need a big stand here. That doesn't look like a big stand. Out of 25, they should get 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So just below the bubble. Just below the bubble. So the Germans are going to lose 11. So they're going to lose 10 infantry and 1 artillery. And the Russians are losing 9, so that obviously will be 9 infantry. So that's 3, 4, 5, or 5, sorry, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Put them over there. And so this is what remains in Moscow. Not much stuff left. So 16 units for the Russians. And they've already had their turn. They've already put on their build this turn. And then the Germans are, of course, in their lock, stock, and a bunch of smoking barrels. So, looking pretty bad for the Russians. They might not even have to worry about the Russian Revolution roll. Actually, they will, because there's not enough Austro-Hungarians here. There's 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only 9 Austro-Hungarians, so they can't wipe out all the Russians before their turn. So there you go, folks. I'm going to do the rest of the non-coms and the placements. The Germans are going to hold steady down here. There's really nothing to be done. Oh, you know what? There is. I'm going to do that, because why not? Why not go grab an extra buck before you die? There you go. And take 1 off the French. So, that's where we stand now. And we're going to be doing the rest, and I'll show you how the rest of round 3 finishes off. Sorry, Russia. Not looking good. Alright, well, I started filming a big battle going on in Lorraine here. And, of course, the French have the air superiority. I rolled 2 dice and got 1 hit. Took off a German infantry. I thought, well, shoot, might as well show the reply. I showed you the original attack. So, here we go. The French trying to deal with this German incursion into their homeland. So, these are the dice that represent these troops. So, the black 2, green 3, red 4. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Big hands, but not big enough for all these dice, maybe. Okay, I can do this. Thanks for sticking with me, folks. Here we go. All right. And here is the roll. All right. Well, lots of 6s and lots of 1s. So let's see how it works out. So for the black dice, looks like we have 4 hits. 4 out of 11. That's pretty much right on the bubble. For the green dice, which are 3 or less, there's only 1 3. That's pretty good. That's 6 out of 8. So that's a couple higher. And then the red dice, not as good. They got a little lower than what they're supposed to get, 5. So pretty average roll all around. Looks like 15 hits total. 5 plus 6 plus 4. So 15 hits against the Germans, which would be 5, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 are dead. Okay, so you got 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 30, 33 at 2. So you can see the Germans actually have more stuff, or at 3, pardon me, not at 2. They have more stuff, but we'll see how they shoot here. So that's... And the French have a, well, not a good follow-up, actually. So this might not have been a very good attack to do. So how much did I say they had? Nuts. 10, 15, 20, 33. Okay. So here we have 33. Can I pick up this many dice? Alright, well, we'll see here. All right, so 33 at 3. They should get 11. Oh my goodness, they got a lot more than 11. Okay. Uh-oh, this could be the end of France. This might be a really quick CP victory game. Maybe this is what happens when other people say the CP always wins. Maybe their sheer numbers that they can bring to bear. So out of 33, they should have gotten 11. And let's see what they missed. They missed 5, 10, 12. So they got 21 hits. 21 hits. That's getting into the artillery. That's not good. So 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. Got to keep one guy behind. And then 3 artillery. Well, that really did not go well for Les Français at all. So we're going to take that off because it's no longer needed because we only got this much. That's it. Lorraine has not been saved. Now they do have aircraft, which may help them a little bit, but youch, that was terrible. Well, let's do this battle down in Africa. Maybe they'll have more luck. I guess I should probably put the Germans back onto their, using the card over here. Oh my goodness. All right. So down here we've got 3 at 2 attacking, 1 at 3. So we'll roll those 4 dice right there once I clear out all this stuff. Some people have been asking for me to show the rolls and the movements and stuff like that. So I've been doing that. Just that sometimes these games take all day for me to play solo, and videoing all this sometimes isn't really possible. But maybe I'll show you the key moments. So here we go. So 3 French attacking 1. So 3 black at 2, 1 green at 3. Okay, well, 1 hit each, but that is it. So the Germans are going to lose that African colony of Togo. Togo and Benin. I don't know if Benin was actually, but Togo was. All right. Okay. Well, that's it. I'm going to do some more muddling around with the French. These battleships are now undamaged. Doesn't really matter, though. Germany's certainly not going to be spending any more on that, and battleships don't bombard, so they're just going to probably come down here. Oh, I forgot to mention, the Russians did a mad charge at the Ottomans, and before the Russian Revolution kicks in and they lose the boats anyway, and it failed. So kind of a bad game all around for the Allies, or for the Entente. All right, I'm going to finish off the French turn, and then we will move on to Britain. No big battles, maybe a little one here. I don't think, though. I think we'd lose that huge as Britain, so we're not going to do that attack. All right. We'll show you what happens for the rest of round 3 right after this. All right, moving on to turn 4. And you've already seen what happened here. Not much has changed. The Ottomans have decided to head south and take over Sevastopol. Mainly because they believe that the Russians here, we'll put that guy back up on top of the stack, the Russians here are well and truly hooped, that the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians together should be able to dispatch the Germans, and if they don't dispatch them, well, if the Austro-Hungarians don't dispatch them, then the Russians will likely have the Russian Revolution. It's not 100% for certain, but it's looking pretty dismal. But again, this is why we roll the dice. There's still a lot of Russian units in there, but there's a good follow-up with the Germans, and the Russians have no aircraft, so the German artillery will probably take its toll. Also, the Ottoman need help down here. Now, of course, they didn't know they'd need help down here, but we did an attack against the British, and the British shredded them. Yeah, the British have 7 artillery and got 6 hits with it, and they had 7 infantry and got 3 hits, I think. So the Ottomans only got 4 hits. So not good for them. But they made bank this turn. as they are up $6. So they made 22. Should be able to get the wheels in motion, probably by an aircraft this turn. British trying to get full use out of that aircraft, bringing more artillery into the fight. Down in Africa, I'm not sure if I showed you this, but the British were able to kill the lone German in Angola and take that over. So one German troop remains. That is it for the game in Africa. As far as Europe goes, the Italians are in the war. Yes, they rolled a 3 this turn, which is what they needed to. Unfortunately, that's at the end of the turn, so these guys are all still stuck. But they will be moving out shortly. The Americans, as we know, are in the war. And I tend to just save the money. So they had $60 to spend. And they ended up spending $52 on 4 artillery and 6 transports. So that's ready to go now. So they've got 12 units. They're going to charge across the ocean and probably take Portugal. The French left it this turn, or this game. I know typically it's taken and then you come down the second round. But in full disclosure, I forgot. So I'm probably going to send this French boat up to take Portugal this turn. I completely forgot to take Portugal. I just saw it. So what happens when you play on your own? Sometimes you forget the obvious. The British, on the other hand, did a little landing here behind German lines. Were able to sneak through with 2 transports, landed 4 guys. Obviously not enough to worry about taking Berlin. And the Germans will be able to take Berlin, or keep Berlin, and likely dislodge the British without too much trouble. British came into Belgium, took that away from the Germans. But the German economy is still strong thanks to all their holdings in Russia. The French, yeah, I think we saw that battle went very poorly for them. So they are actually outnumbered by the Germans, and the Germans have a follow-up of 12 more units. So it's likely that this French force will get crushed this turn, and there's not a lot between them and Paris. So the British, though, have 4 transports. I built one there thinking it would go to Canada and pick some guys up, but I think we need to get guys into the fight sooner than that. So likely these 4 will bring over 8 units and plop them into Belgium, if Belgium still is around or in British hands. If not, into Picardy and then maybe into Paris to try to stop the bleeding over there. But with Italy in the war, that changes things a lot. Austria-Hungary has a good amount of stuff here, but not enough to take that out this turn. And no aircraft in the vicinity. So, off we go. Turn 4. This is going to be a very pivotal moment, and we'll see if the Americans are able to get over here in time to actually make a difference. All right, turn 4 is over. We're moving on to turn 5. And yeah, the Russian Revolution has absolutely happened. The Austro-Hungarians had a pretty successful attack, but then the Russians counterattacked, wiped them all out except for one, which pretty much sealed their fate because it was contested. The Germans came in anyway, the Germans had some stuff in there, pardon me, from last round. It was the Austro-Hungarian attack that went in, and with only one guy remaining, that's what sealed the fate. We still had the battle with the Germans here, though, just because I wanted to shoot some stuff. In hindsight, I shouldn't have had the battle with the Germans. They shouldn't have fought. They should have just moved out. But hey, when you screw up, it's okay. So then these Germans here in Belarus decided to come down to Ukraine because the British have been able to push into Ottoman-held territory. And the Ottomans were not strong enough to offset that right now. So the British are moving in. But the Ottomans are sitting pretty strong. They've got quite a bit of stuff here. Don't really think it is under an awful lot of duress at this moment. We have one lone German. Totally surrounded now. Nowhere to go. Not long for this world. Probably come into Belgian Congo, I guess. Scoop one more dollar before he dies. But he might not die. There's only 2 Brits down here, so yeah, could be fun. Could be fun. On this side here, the Americans have landed and landed in Spanish Morocco. Did not take any casualties. I think that's the very first time that has ever happened for me. Now, there's only one artillery, one infantry there, but in the 3 shots, including the shore assault and, when the artillery gets to shoot at anybody landing, no hits. The French, true to their word, came and took Portugal, so there's quite a contingent there that now will likely head north because the Germans have quite a force here. This is it's a decent force. They've only got 5 infantry, but they have, looks to be 19 artillery, so lots of stuff. And a bit of a follow-up as well. Now, obviously, it's not enough to take Paris. There's just going to be too much stuff. But they're looking pretty good. Now, the British have come in and have taken a lot of stuff. Britain made $48 this turn. Obviously, that's going to be a one and done. But it's stuff that the Germans have to deal with. So they'll likely mop this up in these 3 territories and might even retreat this stack back to Alsace and shore up. This is a real problem, though, for the Central Powers. It always comes down to Austria-Hungary. Comment below if you think Austria-Hungary is the weak link in this game. I really believe that it is. They bite off too much. They tried an assault into Italy, did not go well. Then the Italians wiped them out. In the reply, there was only 1 infantry left. So the previous build had to come to Trieste, knowing that the Germans can possibly help out in Tyrolia, which will weaken the western push towards Paris. So hardly a done deal. Built tanks, if you can get them on early, you can use them often. So built some tanks, a man, and an aircraft. But that's all they've got on the board right now, except for the lone buddy over there who will likely walk back this turn. Yeah, that's pretty insane. The Italians, of course, now that they can move, they're in the game. Came down here on turn 4 and got Albania and helped shore up Egypt and the British East Africa. So now Vienna is actually under a little bit of duress, little bit of problem going on here. So likely going to be a big infantry build to stave off utter destruction, utter disaster. But Italy, of course, with a tiny budget, likely will not be able to get in there and actually take it. But they are going to possibly cause some problems. It'll be interesting to see what happens here on turn 5. And we know we've got 12 American units coming over. And will likely land in Albania and try to cause some grief on this side of the board. I'll let you know how it turns out right after this. All right, turn 6 ready to commence. It's funny though, even with Russia out of the game, the die has not been completely cast. Well, it's been cast, but not totally cast. You know what I mean. It's not quite done here. The British are a little bit in retreat. They did take Mesopotamia last turn, but have now backed off because of the large units of German stuff coming down here, 16 units. Decided to back up. Now the British do have the advantage of aircraft and a ton of artillery, so the Germans will probably play defense in Mesopotamia. The Ottomans have lots of stuff going on here. The African continent is absolutely silenced. I forgot to put the Italian build on. See, need somebody here helping me out. Not much else going on here, just some shoring up of the defenses. But the Americans did come over to Greece and are leading a bit of a charmed life when it comes to these amphibious assaults. They only got 1 casualty on them. So they've come across and upped their income by $3 a turn for the loss of 1 infantry. So that's pretty good for them. The Italians, as they sometimes get to do in this game, are romping around in Austro-Hungarian territories and have taken a bit of a bite out of them, even with German help. But the Germans, had to try to dislodge all the British, which they did without suffering a single casualty. The British just kind of laid down. It was pretty sad. So the Germans had to send some stuff down to Tyrolia so that the Italians couldn't just put a single guy in there and take $4. But Trieste was a good stack of Austro-Hungarian equipment, about 10 units, and they all got wiped out. The Austro-Hungarians had built some tanks last turn, which will be put to use this turn, I am sure. And they have 12 infantry as well, and if their aircraft wins, they will likely have a good shot at putting a real dent into this Italian force. If not, the Germans will have to do what they can do, because then Vienna might be under some duress. But the Austro-Hungarians have some decent cash right now. They've got $34 to spend, so they can just load up with infantry and they'll be all right for a turn. The Germans have stalled a little bit, but do have a very good army under their #1 banner. So they're sitting there with about 30 units or so, including aircraft, and that's just too much for the French or British to take on singularly. Combined, they might be able to hold them off, but Germany is a bit stalled here, and the British are pouring over. So we may see the Germans actually spend some money on naval units. I noticed that as during the French turn, that all these transports have no support. So I moved or during the British turn, pardon me. So it was after the French fleet had come into the Med. So I moved the Americans up to the Channel to provide some support there. Not sure what else to say here. The Italians are looking good. The Americans have a small trickle coming over. A smaller build this round. Decided to build a tank, but that bites in, so you can only really build one transport. So, a little bit slower of a build up. But they're on the beach in Greece. So turn 7 will be, again, a very important turn. Amazing how every turn's important. But this one will be very important, because if the Austro-Hungarian attack goes like most of the Austro-Hungarian attacks when I play these games, Vienna's going to be in trouble, and the Germans may actually just come play defense in Vienna, because that's a lot of Italians there. They've got about 18 Italians and an aircraft, and Budapest is under some duress, as is Bulgaria and Romania. And with the Americans here now threatening Constantinople, the Turks are going to have to pull some stuff back, which might relieve some pressure. You see what's going on here. The CP might actually not be as strong as we once thought. Time will tell. We'll let you know if there's an actual battle for Vienna. Alright, heading into turn 7, and I don't know what it is about this game, but it just doesn't seem to like the Central Powers no matter what I do. So the Germans came down, slammed into the Brits here, and rolled horribly and got diced hard. The plane helped. And then in the British counterattack, they brought in some tanks and all that. And the Germans got some hits, but the tanks, of course, absorb a bunch of those. And Ottoman just were not strong enough to take that over. They did come in here with force, though, just to wipe out those Brits and take that dollar back. Transjordan's a little weaker now, but still not weak enough. But this is too strong for the Ottomans to go across. They got to watch their borders too, because Italy, well, good grief, Italy. What's Italy doing? Well, they're invading Vienna. Not a great attack. They're probably going to get wiped out here on the response. But they're taking a lot of money from the Austro-Hungarians right now. So if the Austro-Hungarians don't kick them out, that's $6 they're not collecting, another 6 and another 4. That's $16. Austria-Hungary is going to be missing. And they still have Romania and Ukraine, but they lost Serbia. So what's that? $22. And it's going to be hard to fight a war on $22. Especially when Italy on this last turn made 29. They have 15 in bonus. And I think it's 50. Is it 15 in bonus? 16, 14 in bonus. And then this here is another 3, 17, but then they're losing that. So they actually have 17 in bonus plus 12. So yeah, $29. So they're outproducing the Austro-Hungarians right now. But, of course, their little expeditionary force is likely to get crushed. Up here, the Germans had to solidify a little bit. Just don't have enough to punch through the French. And we've got our 2 cards here now. Let's take a look. I really like these cards because you don't have to stack everything up. You can leave it in separate stacks as you bring them in. And then they're easy to move about and take casualties from. So as we look at the French here in Burgundy, they have about 23 or so infantry and looks to be 7 artillery. Whereas the Germans have far fewer infantry but far more artillery. But again, they're farther from their supply center, whereas Paris is right next door to Burgundy. So, yeah. Plus, the British have thrown in, and they've got a nice little force here in Belgium of about 18 units or so, and with more on the way. And the Canadians are coming. Look out! Here come the Canucks! We're good at this war stuff, so just you watch out there, hun. Germans built some tanks. These are those new sculpts from historical board gaming. I haven't painted them up yet, but they come with a gray that's pretty close, a little lighter than the out-of-box stuff here, but they look really cool. So I thought, well, we'll throw those in. I bought a few of those. All right, so that's where we stand. The Americans have moved into Bulgaria and landed the follow-up in Greece. The next American follow-up is fairly pathetic, just a man and a tank. And then just 4 men coming after that. So, it does slow down. The next one, though, might be a bit bigger because, of course, we have 6 transports headed back to get the shuck going. So we get that shuck going, some good things happen for the Entente. All right, we're going to have round 7 here. This is actually going a little bit more quickly. Knock on wood. It's probably going to take 12 hours now. But yeah, the Central Powers are in a little bit of a bad way. The Germans are a bit stalled. Austro-Hungarians are under siege. And the Ottoman, well, they're getting pushed a little bit. Not too terribly bad, but it's going to be a constant thorn that is going to stop them from getting a lot more money. They're going to be stuck down at, well, right now they're making, I guess, 20 on the last round. So not terribly bad, but that's going to probably shrink by the time we come back from round 7. Here we go. Alright, turn 8 is ready to rock and roll, and as I've said many times, what a difference a turn can make. So, first of all, I need to apologize for messing up part of the Russian Revolution rules, and that is that apparently the Central Powers has to leave a unit behind in each of these territories. Now, the problem with that is that typically they clean out all their territories adjacent to Moscow to do a push into there, which means that there are no units left in those territories, and if the Russians, like in this case, were unable to oust the Austro-Hungarians, then that's just the way it is. Now, the German attack on Moscow shouldn't have really happened according to the rules, but it just felt like, well, they're all the way over there, let's fight. So I kind of screwed that up a little bit, but for a few turns here, the Austro-Hungarians and the Ottoman, this last turn, and the Germans have been collecting heaps of cash, and they don't have anything on these territories. So what I've done is I've removed the roundels. There can be no combat in any original Russian territories. And what I did was, because the Ottomans did come down into Mesopotamia, I just subtracted 3 off their score from last turn. All right, so I've done the best I could to kind of right the ship on that one. Now down here, that's another reason why I don't play the Russian Revolution rule too often. I think it's a little gamey. But down here, the British were able to jump all over the Turks and beat them up pretty well. The Turks got 2 hits, but hey, 2 tanks. So no hits as the tanks absorb those 2 hits. So no casualties for the British. And more tanks are on the way. So the British right now have 7 tanks in the Middle East headed into Turkish territory. The Turks last turn took back Arabia and then brought everybody into Transjordan. Put some guys in Smyrna just to cover that, but have really loaded up Constantinople and will likely get another build or two there, which will, more than likely stave off elimination for some time. But their economy is going to shrink down to $6 or $8 in probably a couple of turns here. So I think the writing is on the wall for the Turks. The Austro-Hungarians did not get attacked this round. The Germans came in with some units, 8 units, to kind of help shore up the defenses, and the Italians decided to retreat the units. Now, I know some people say that when you retreat, everybody has to go, but I don't think that's in the rule book. And so I pulled everybody out except for 1 infantry. That's, they're going to have to fight, and maybe he'll get a lucky shot. But what it does is it ties down all those Austro-Hungarian units from going to attack these Italian units, because there's just not enough Italians to go around here. The Americans landed some more, the French landed some more, and there you have it. The Italians this turn made $31, so yeah, it's considerably more than their starting income of 14. They were able to get rid of the lone German infantry that was left in Venice after the scrap. Germans came in. Up here, the British, being cheeky again, brought in 1 guy into empty Alsace-Lorraine. Oh, Alsace, sorry, Lorraine's over here. They did manage to move forward, though, on all fronts. Lots of tanks are being built by the Germans, so they should be able to begin another march towards Paris. And again, if they take Paris, they win the game, because they've got the 2 capitals. So the game ain't over, and if Austria-Hungary can hold on, might be able to exert some pressure in that sense. So this is what's left after the big French and German tilts. The French have this much left in their army, so 4 artillery, 1 infantry, and an Italian who joined them, plus 1 fighter, and the Germans have 1 infantry and 6 artillery, and that's it. That's what you have in Lorraine right now. So not likely that the Germans are going to have an attack this turn. They will try to get some support in there into that territory if they can. The British continue to land gobs of men. Don't have a lot of punch here, not a lot of artillery, but they do have what appears to be about 19 infantry sitting there in, where is it? Not Picardy, but in Belgium. Yes, because I'm using those. Really like these things. Pick them up from Historical Board Gaming. They're fantastic. Really, really handy. And you can see I'm using the 2 different types. One that has the little L shape so you can stand a guy on them, and then just the one that stands on its own. Both I think are pretty cool. Some people say that the ones with the L shape will tip over, but they're just sitting there, so they don't tip over. The Americans brought 4 more guys over. We built 6 infantry this last turn, saving a bit of money, and they've got enough now to build 6 artillery next turn. So there's going to be a slight hiccup in the transportation of men and materiel from America, but it'll be a much stronger punch when it gets here. All right, so that's where we are here on turn 8, and we'll see if the Germans are able to renew their thrust towards Paris. They're looking much stronger now, but again, the British can try to land in Kiel. Actually, they could try landing in Berlin, so I need to be cognizant of that and make sure that Berlin remains protected. Could be bad. Turn 9 coming up, and well, little bit of breathing room for the Axis. Sorry, the Central Powers.
Oh, whoops. Whoopsie.
In some cases, and in other cases, wow, the crush is on. Yes, Britain moving out from the Middle East, even with a 5 build limit, has been quite effective now in running over everything. Now, nothing was in Ankara or the Syrian desert, so those were easy takes. But there is some good follow-up here, lots of tanks and whatnot. And I have thought of charging out of Constantinople and Smyrna and, trying to crush this down. But then the Americans just have too much stuff here. And they likely would have been able to take Constantinople. And, of course, that would be the end. There ain't no more. Up here, the Italians made, well, bank, as the kids say. 38 bucks this round. I believe that is a record for Italy in games that I have played. They are up huge. All right. Or they have 38. I think they might have saved some. But anyway, because they've got 7 here, 10 there, 17, 21. Yeah, so 35. And they saved. Did they save some? Anyway, whatever. They got a ton of cash. Far more than Italy is supposed to have. So big stacks of men and artillery continue to be pushed towards the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which isn't looking very empire-y right now. Now, they can obviously take back Tyrolia, Budapest, and Trieste this turn. Trieste might not. They have to get 15 hits, or not 15, pardon me. What do we got there? 16. They have to get 10 hits. And that could be a tall order, especially when the Austro-Hungarians have a fighter there. But they do have 3 tanks. So if they're going to do it, I think probably now is the time to take a poke at it. But they don't have much of an economy. They're going to need some help from the Germans. The Germans themselves retreated from Lorraine, giving that back to the French. But they consolidated a decent force in Alsace. So this is what they have in Alsace now. So we've got ourselves 8 tanks and what appears to be 10 artillery and just a few infantry divisions, not a lot. And countering that are the British. We saw them, and they're up a few more. And the French, of course, have a few more in Burgundy. So when the Germans retreated, the French didn't move in because the Germans have that big stack of tanks. That might actually strike out at the British this turn. Might be a good idea. And the Germans always want to be one space away from any huge stacks when they've got their tanks, so they can put them into action. The Americans, next turn, will be bringing over another 12 units, so that'll be cool, but you can see that there is a dearth of American materiel and men on the African continent. So that's all over here now. Now, some big lessons learned so far. Russian Revolution does not guarantee a CP victory. And make sure that if you are the Turks, you don't rely on help from anybody else because you're likely not going to get it. Yeah, even during the Russian Revolution. Plus, remember, if the CP wants this money, they got to leave guys behind. So, that's the big takeaways so far. Probably gonna have to go all in here. I built up here because I honestly told myself, if you don't, you're just gonna land a bunch of British guys over here in Germany. You might lose a transport or two, but you're gonna take Berlin. And so I decided that in order to not just play the fool, I was going to do that. So no build in Munich this turn, and that'll slow down a little bit of the German push, but of course not eliminate it. All right. Turn 9 coming up. Will we have a big battle? All right, so the game continues. I have tidied up things here a bit for the Ottomans and the British. Probably a big British attack coming next turn, but the Ottoman do have 27 infantry and 10 artillery. So 37 hits are needed. Not going to get that with this many offensive troops, but likely going to tie down Constantinople for the remainder of the game. They won't be making any income out of there. They'll just be making $3. So writing is on the wall mathematically for Constantinople, unless the dice get just incredibly hot for them, which hasn't really been the case in most of the game. Actually, neither side has had incredibly hot dice, except the Italians. Yes, the Italians were able to wrest Trieste back from the Austro-Hungarians, who moved in and took it with their tanks, but only had about 5-6 units left, and the Italians had their stack of artillery and 1 man left, and their plane, of course, and they just keep landing stuff in Albania. So I think it's all over but the crying. Right now, Vienna, very, very lightly defended. They do get to go next, but they don't have a ton of cash. Think they have 18. You can see that the Italians took Tyrolia as well. So the Ottoman, or pardon me, the Austro-Hungarians are in tough. They'll be placing 6 infantry this turn, probably backing these guys out of Budapest so they don't get squashed. Up here, the Germans, much healthier, but we're going to take a look at the stacks that we have here. So here's the German stack. You know, pretty healthy, not a ton of infantry, not many meat shields, as they say, and these tanks are fantastic at the initial assault, but the reply, of course, they only hit at a 1 and they don't take double hits. So, and this is the British facing off against them. Close, I think they've actually got more numbers now, but it's pretty much all infantry, so not much of an offensive punch. And then the French, kind of the same thing, mostly infantry, lower numbers too. But together they could be a real problem for the Germans. Brought some more Canadians over. And hopefully they will be able to see some action here before it's all over. Looking like an Entente victory here, an Allied victory, if you will. But we are going to we're going to play it out until we find out. So turn 10 coming up, and likely going to be quite the conflagration on the Western Front. All right, folks, I think that was our second last round. Looks like round 11 will likely be the last round. We're going to start here in Turkey, where the Ottomans are pretty much bottled up. Defense is the only thing they can do right now. If they push out and win, they'll lose their capital. And staying in, it's just the slow, painful erosion as they're down to $9. So we could pile everybody into Constantinople, but there's just so much stuff around here. They'll jump in, take over all their stuff, and then they're making $0 and just taking casualties. So that's math. Stay in school, kids. You learn this stuff. Over here, we have the remnants of the Austro-Hungarian Empire holding on for dear life. The Italian attack went very well. They did take a number of casualties. They're down to 3 units plus a plane, so likely going to die this round. But the Germans were pushed out of Tyrolia, and now the Austro-Hungarians lost their fleet to the Italian fleet, which is obviously no longer there either. But now the transports can come in and drop off with ease, ignoring the port, of course, because it's an Italian territory. So no mines for the transport. So they're just going to shuck 6 guys a turn over. So that's pretty much done. But the big news is on the Western Front. You can see the British and you can see the French battle markers, but you can't see the German. Why not? Well, because the German army is dead. Yeah, just didn't have the horses to take on 2 stacks. And you can see that it just didn't go well at all. The first thing they did was they attacked the British stack and took a real thumping. Their tanks saved them from a bunch of destruction, which was nice, but then the French follow-up attack was just far too great, and it was pretty nasty. And then on the British turn, so that all happened in Belgium, so the French took Belgium, and then the British just walked into the Ruhr. And you can see there's not much left on the board for the Germans. So it's likely over. What I'm going to do is do the... well, I'll do one more round here, and I'll let you know how it goes. But we're likely looking at the Germans and Austro-Hungarians suing for peace. Austria-Hungary last turn collected a whopping $18, so... yeah, not going to go too far. And when you got France in Budapest, you know things aren't going too well. All right, folks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I jumped ahead and did the turn for the Americans just to see if we could crack that nut. But there's still about 10, 13 units left. Likely going to fall to the British this next turn. If not fall, it's going to be very difficult. These troops are tied down. These troops are tied down. So we've got a transport. We can bring some guys up. Who knows? But we do have a lot of tanks coming in that won't receive any hits. And then we do have quite a number of Americans, and I haven't even done the American shuck over here with those 3 transports. So 6 more units. These guys go back. These guys are going to be over here. We got more guys coming there. I didn't even do the build for them. I said, let's just see what happens. So for your viewing pleasure, though, I am going to do this attack. And I didn't even do much anywhere. I did have the Germans try to assault using their tanks, or not their tanks, pardon me, but trying to use their artillery with a plane, but the plane got shot down along with the British. They kind of shot each other down. So I didn't really do anything on the Western Front, because as you can see, it's all over there. So we're going to do our last little bit here. We've got 4 sets of paired artillery, actually 5 sets of paired artillery and infantry going into Vienna. So that's 10 at 3. We have a plane, but it can't quite reach, can only fly 2, so it'll be in the next one. These guys are going to be over here at the end of this turn. These guys are going to be up here. So here we go. We've got, like I say, we got 5 paired infantry artillery. So it's 10 at 3 and 2 at 2. So we'll just do the 2 at 2 to start. Nothing there. And then we'll do 10 at 3. See if we can hammer down on the Austro-Hungarians. Well, that's not a great roll, actually. It's only 4 hits. So what that looks like is that comes out of there. So they've got 12 in reply. We've got 12 in reply coming back. So we'll take these 5, add 2 more. See what they can do for damage. Oh, they did about half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so they got exactly half. So that takes away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men, 6 men. So the Italians still have this much in there. The Austro-Hungarians are sitting on $12, and I didn't even do these cheeky things, you know, like move in there and take that. So that's it, folks. We're going to call this. And oddly enough, with the Russian Revolution, this game went faster than most. This is turn 11, and it'd be over on turn 12. Constantinople will fall. They only have $9, and at the end of this turn, they will have no dollars. And Vienna definitely is really going to fall. They'd be collecting $3 next turn, and by then it's going to be over. So that's it, folks. The Entente wins. The Central Powers have fallen yet again. I think Italy got in right at the right time. I think at round 3, when they rolled their 3, they now were in on turn 4. I think it's a great time for them to come in. Any longer might have been enough time to scamper back with the Austro-Hungarian guys. Plus, let's not forget that the Central Powers got quite a bit of money from territories they shouldn't have received money from. So, yeah, that could even dig a bigger hole for the Central Powers to climb out of. All right, well, that's everything from the Hilltop Pillbox, and we will be doing a... Actually, you know what? We're going to tack it on right now. Let's see who really pays attention to my videos. So here we are. We're at the end. And when I was at Sky Marshal's place doing the summer offensive this year, just last week, well, it was just a few days ago, I happily crossed 3,000 subscribers for the Hilltop Pillbox. So we're feeling pretty good about that. So we're going to have a giveaway, and that giveaway will be happening in the next few days. It's going to be a fairly large one, and let me know in the comments below if you would like one very large gift, or if you would rather have 2 or 3 smaller gifts that would go out. So more people have a chance to win, but the gifts would be considerably smaller. Or do you want kind of all, kind of like a big lottery thing? And it's probably going to consist of some armies, perhaps some historical gaming, historical board gaming gift certificates, or a large gift certificate. Let me know what your thoughts are on that, and once I hear those, I will do the final. And what I'm likely going to do is a great big Who Will Win contest we'll probably use the rules most people know, which would probably be something from the Global 40 era, and have a massive sweeping battle. And you get to decide, or you get to get out your crystal ball and find out who do you think is going to win and what will be left. All right, looking forward to it, folks. Thanks so much for your ongoing loyalty to the channel. Really means a lot to me to see a good number of views on the videos, and I hope that the community will continue to grow. Lots of great channels out there. Go and subscribe to all the ones, folks. Go and find them. I'm not going to start naming them right now, but go ahead and find them. You've seen them on my channel. I mentioned them before. You know who they are. Go and sub. These guys are doing some really, really good work, and they could really use the subs, the encouragement, the backing. The amount of time and energy that goes into running a YouTube channel is incredible. And yeah, they could really use some appreciation there. So if you haven't subbed to some of those other HBG or Axis and Allies style channels, go ahead and do that, and really pump their tires, folks. They're good people, and they need your support. Well, thanks so much for playing, folks, and don't forget, hug your loved ones. I mean that. You let them know that you're really glad that they're around, and thank your friends for playing, and above all, may those dice be with you.